So often we carry a secret around. It's a heavy secret, like abortion. And now you're in post abortion. And that secret weighs so heavy in your heart, in your whole body. And yes, in your mind too. Our mind can tell us so many stories that we're not deserving. We're not good enough. We don't deserve a good relationship. We don't deserve happiness. We don't deserve um, a job that just lights us up. It's just that whole feeling of undeserving. And when we're sitting in that, it's hard to see, it's hard to believe that there can be another side. We can have the sunlight, the loving relationships, the acceptance by other people who truly love us for who we are. But that heaviness and those stories in our head that we don't deserve any of this, it's a form of self punishment. It truly is. And I lived in that world for a long, long time that I didn't deserve to have a loving husband, to have relationships, friendships, and allow them to really know who I was because I didn't want to know who I was. At that point, I didn't love myself. You don't love yourself. Other people will not love you either because they don't know who you really are. You deserve to have a great relationship, a loving friends, an awesome job that you just really like going to. And it starts with letting yourself say yes. Yes, I really want this. How do I do it? I want this. I don't feel like I deserve it. You deserve it. We all deserve it. The debt was paid. It truly was. Now, to build the relationship back with yourself, to love yourself, to really get to know who you are. That's kind of a big one, isn't it? And so how do we start that? How do you start that? For me, I started with healing from the abortion, the post-abortion emotions and the self-punishment I was putting myself through of seeking forgiveness, but I was seeking forgiveness externally by putting myself last in every single thing and thinking, well, I'm being selfless. I'm putting other people first. That's somewhat of some people pleasing. And it is also a form of self punishment because do you feel like you deserve more from life? Or do you feel that this is all there is? This is as good as it's going to get. It can be so much better. So I want to open that door for you. And when you're ready to say, I want more, I want so much more, and to start ending that secret little by little and being in a room with me and allowing yourself to talk about your experience at a level that you are comfortable. And as you talk through that, I have found for myself, I would say you might see this as well for yourself. There's pieces of that abortion experience you may have blocked, not forgotten, but blocked because you weren't ready for that. As you start talking about it. So let me back up. When I was in the room, first time on my recovery, and I met everybody and they were wonderful people. I was so anxious and so nervous about what would they think. They're going to think I'm like the world's worst person and they're not going to understand. I was anxious. I was to the point where I was making myself physically sick because I was so nervous and anxious about meeting new people and talking about abortion. I mean, come on. That's not a common subject, shall we say. And it's one of those things you kind of sweep under the rug, right? And you suffer through it. You don't talk about it because no one will understand and people will reject me. People won't love me. I don't deserve to have anything better because I chose to have an abortion. That's what was going through my head. And I went through I felt like this for a lot of years. And so when the opportunity came for the recovery program, every part of my body said, yes, you absolutely need to be there. So I signed up right away. And I think it started like 2 weeks later. So in those 2 weeks, I told myself all sorts of stories, and like I said, I was so nervous when I walked through that door, just even driving there. "I can't do this." Then I started saying, "No, you really need to do this, Terry. You need to do this." And that's my story. And we sat down, we got to know each other, and the leader, she told her story first. And when she told her story, I felt some of that tightness leave my body, some of that tightness leave my throat, and the anxiousness and the nervousness started to recede a little bit. I was still pretty anxious and I was really nervous. Just saying the words out loud, telling the story at a level I could remember. And the understanding and the peace, it was pretty phenomenal. So when I got done with the whole program, didn't want anyone else to feel the way I felt prior to the the healing, the clearing of all this negative energy that I was carrying around with me for so many years. And post abortion and healing, I do want to be clear about this. It's not at a specific age. You may be feeling this, months or even years later after the abortion. And we get so used to carrying this around with us that at some point we don't even consciously realize what we're doing to ourselves. And that self punishment that we are putting ourselves through, it's not only about, maybe having a job you don't like, or you're in a relationship you don't want to be in. Maybe it's a house you don't even like to live in. You want to be someplace else. It's the relationships we have, or it can also be the relationships we don't have and we wish we had. I had slowly pushed people away because I was silent. I didn't let people in and I was going to figure it out on my own. I didn't even realize I had a problem. It's not a problem. I didn't realize that I was punishing myself over and over and over again. Are you punishing yourself? And punishing yourself can look at so many different ways for different people. Like I said, it could be, a job you don't like, but you're there and it's like, I don't like it, but I'm going to do it. A relationship you really don't want to be in. And maybe it's more than one relationship, whether it be, um, you know, inside or outside of work. Because sometimes, you get into relationships at works, friendships, and it's like, oh, but you stick with it. Or you don't let people in enough to really let them see who you are, and it will slowly start to isolate you, and people wanna connect. We always wanna connect, but when we start carrying around this abortion secret and punishing ourselves, and sometimes we don't even realize we're doing it. Other people can sense that, and there's some very special people that can see beyond that, and they know something's going on, and they stick around and they want to connect with you, but you don't let them because we've either forgotten how, because it's been so long, or we're afraid to. Self punishment through food, substance abuse, denying ourselves a life we really want. So I want you to hopefully hear me when I say having a beautiful life, a life you really want, is so possible. And it starts by telling your story. And you may not, like I said, remember all the story. You tell what you're ready to tell and allow yourself to be open enough to let the healing come in. So that's a bit of what I do for women. I take them as far as they're ready to go. I'm there with them. I've walked the walk, I've talked the talk, been through abortion, came through, like I said, years later, I started wondering, is this all there is? I want so much more than the abortion recovery program. And that was pretty much my tipping point. And I had to be there. I went through the whole program. I came out a different person and it opened my eyes and it allowed my heart to be open to new experiences. All that might seem a little scary, and I don't want it to be scary for you. We take it as far as you're ready. And it could be I don't want to say simply because it's not simple. It could be telling the story that you're ready to tell, that you don't feel like you're worthy, that you don't feel deserving of anything better. If you say yes to that, I invite you to look in the show notes and my social media handles there. Send me a DM and we can get together and talk.